You ever get that nagging sensation that you're just there? Like you inhabit a space, but no one truly notices your presence? That's how my life unfolded within my family. I wasn't the golden child, nor was I the rebellious one. I was simply the invisible middle child, the one who did what was expected but never quite enough to be acknowledged. It all began with small, seemingly insignificant moments. My parents would forget to set a plate for me at dinner, while my brother would casually take my belongings without so much as a please. It was clear that my complaints fell on deaf ears. No one cared. They never outright told me I wasn't wanted, at least, not initially. But it lingered in the air, woven into the fabric of our conversations, as if my existence was merely an afterthought. I tried to brush it off. After all, families aren't perfect, right? Perhaps I was just being overly sensitive. Maybe if I put in more effort, if I excelled in school and helped around the house, they would finally recognize me as someone worth keeping around. So, I worked hard. My grades were solid, I helped with chores, and I stayed out of trouble. Yet, it never seemed to matter. My brother, on the other hand, was free to do whatever he pleased. He could talk back, skip chores, or fail a class, and my parents would excuse his behavior with phrases like, "He's just a kid, he's going through a tough time." Whenever I pointed out the glaring disparity in our treatment, I was told I was the problem, that I was being difficult. Then, one Saturday night, everything changed. I had just returned from my part-time job at a local grocery store, exhausted and ready to unwind. I worked weekends to save a bit of money since my parents rarely gave me any. As I stepped into the house, I immediately spotted my brother sprawled on the couch, controller in hand, completely absorbed in his game. A half-eaten plate of food lay abandoned on the table, and my backpack was open, its contents strewn across the floor. "Dude, what the hell?" I sighed, bending down to gather my scattered belongings. "Oh yeah," he muttered, hardly tearing his gaze from the screen. "Needed paper. Took some." My stomach sank as I flipped through my notebook. My meticulously crafted notes, hours of hard work, were gone, torn out as if they were nothing. I clenched my jaw. "Are you serious?" Finally, he turned to look at me, a dismissive smirk on his face. "Relax. It's just some dumb notes. Not like you do anything important anyway." That hit harder than it should have. Deep down, I realized that's precisely how he saw me, how they all did. "Where are they?" I asked, my voice tight. "Dunno. Probably in the trash," he shot back, and something within me snapped. Not in a fit of rage, but in a cold, quiet realization. I wasn't one of them. Not really. Taking a deep breath to steady myself, I muttered, "You're unbelievable," and walked past him toward the kitchen. That's when my parents entered, laughter spilling from their lips, an inside joke I was never privy to. But the moment they saw me, the laughter vanished. "What's with the attitude?" my dad asked, narrowing his eyes. I exhaled sharply, still gripping my ruined notebook. "Ask him," I said, nodding toward my brother. He tore out my notes and tossed them like they were nothing. My mom barely glanced at him. "It's just paper," she said, waving her hand dismissively. I looked between them, waiting for some acknowledgement, some recognition of my feelings. But nothing came. Instead, my brother leaned back, smirking. "Yeah, it's just paper," he echoed, as if he already knew he'd won. I felt my fingers tighten around the notebook. "Right. Of course," I said, turning to head upstairs. But my dad's voice stopped me. "You know, this attitude is exactly why no one wants to be around you." I froze. "What?" I turned slowly, disbelief washing over me. My mom sighed, as if she were exhausted by my existence. "You overreact to everything. Always playing the victim, always causing problems." "Causing problems?" I let out a bitter laugh. "For expecting basic respect? For not wanting my stuff trashed?" My brother snorted. "God, you're so dramatic." I shook my head. "You guys act like I'm the issue, but you don't even see what's happening. You just let him do whatever he wants." Dad folded his arms. "Because he's not the one constantly whining." That hit hard, but not as hard as what came next. My brother leaned back, arms stretched behind his head, and smirked. "No one wants you here, man." My stomach dropped. But it was my parents' reaction that shattered something inside me. They nodded, actually nodded, as if they'd accepted that as a fact long ago. I didn't yell. I didn't plead for them to take it back. I simply breathed, and something within me went cold. "Okay," I said, and I walked upstairs to pack my bags. I left. But that wasn't the end. The next morning, my phone buzzed incessantly with missed calls, 12 in total. That's when I realized leaving was the best decision I'd ever made. I didn't answer at first. I just stared at my phone as notifications piled up. My brother, my dad, even my mom, all desperate to reach me. For a family that didn't want me, they sure seemed eager to connect now. I let it ring. I wasn't in a rush. After leaving the night before, I had no plan. I had thrown my belongings into a duffel bag and walked out, feeling numb. I crashed at a friend's place, someone who actually cared about me. He didn't ask questions or push, he just handed me a blanket and said, "You can stay as long as you need." It was more kindness than my own family had shown me in years. But now, they wanted something. And I had a feeling it wasn't because they missed me. By the time the calls finally stopped, texts began rolling in. The first ones were predictable. Mom texted, "You're being immature. Come back." Dad chimed in, "Enough of this nonsense. Stop acting like a child." I scoffed. Yeah, I really left, and they clearly weren't sorry. Then a new message arrived, one that changed everything. Mom texted, "Come home now. We have a problem." My heart raced. A problem? I debated ignoring it, but curiosity got the best of me. "Oh." I finally replied, just 2 words. "What happened?" Her response was almost immediate. "Your brother screwed up. Bad." And just like that, I knew. They didn't miss me, they needed me. And that realization sparked an idea. Leaning back against the couch, I stared at my phone. So now they needed me? Interesting. I wasn't in a hurry to respond. If my brother had truly messed up, whatever had happened was significant enough that my parents, who had never once taken my side, were now reaching out. After about 10 minutes of silence, more messages flooded in. Dad texted, "We don't have time for your attitude. Just come home." Mom texted, "Please. This is serious." Serious? That almost made me laugh. When my issues were serious, they told me to get over it. But now that my brother was in trouble, suddenly it was urgent. I took my time typing my next response, "Not my problem." A minute passed, then another. My dad called. I let it ring and declined it a second later. A text popped up from him, "You're being selfish." Selfish? That was rich coming from him. Then my mom texted again, "Your brother's been arrested." I blinked. Okay, now I was interested. I grabbed my friend's car keys off the counter. "I need a ride." He raised an eyebrow. "You sure? Thought you were done with them." I smirked. "Oh, I am. But I need to see this for myself." 15 minutes later, I pulled up in front of my house. My dad was pacing on the porch, phone in hand, looking more stressed than I'd ever seen him. My mom sat on the steps, head in her hands. For once, there was no laughter, no dismissive remarks, just pure panic. I took my time walking up. "So," I said casually, "who wants to tell me what happened?" My dad turned, eyes sharp. "Where the hell have you been?" I raised an eyebrow. "Not here like you wanted." He clenched his jaw, but before he could say anything, my mom spoke. "It's your brother," she said, her voice trembling. He stole something from the wrong people." I frowned. "The wrong people?" Dad ran a hand over his face. "Some guys at that arcade he hangs out at. We don't know the details, but they called the cops. He's in holding right now." I almost laughed. Of course, my brother had spent years treating me like garbage, thinking he was untouchable. And now, reality had hit him like a freight train. I crossed my arms. "And what do you want me to do about it?" Mom gave me a desperate look. "We need money for a lawyer. Bail. Something. We need your help." I stared at her for a long moment, then finally smiled. They needed me, but I didn't need them. After all those years of being pushed aside, now they were looking at me like I was their only hope. "So let me get this straight," I began, tilting my head slightly. "You told me I was unwanted. You let my brother treat me like garbage. You didn't care when I walked out. But now that he's in trouble, you suddenly remember I exist." My dad's jaw tightened. "This isn't about that. This is about family." I laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Oh, now we're family? That's funny, because last night, I was a burden." Mom's eyes were pleading. "Please, we can talk about all of that later. Right now, we need to get him out before this gets worse." I let out a slow breath, pretending to think it over. "And how much money are we talking about?" Dad sighed. "Bail is set at $10,000. We can pay a portion, but we need you to cover the rest." I whistled. 10 grand, huh? Sounds serious. My mom perked up slightly. "So you'll do it?" I smirked. "Oh, absolutely not." Their faces fell so fast, I almost felt bad. Almost. "Excuse me," Dad snapped. I shrugged. "Not my problem." Mom's voice cracked. "But he's your brother." "No," I corrected. "He's your son. And you made it very clear that I was never part of this family." Dad stepped forward, anger flashing in his eyes. "You think you're proving a point? You think this is funny?" I met his glare without flinching. "No, I think it's fair." Mom reached for my arm. "We'll pay you back." "We?" I took a step back. "You think I trust you? The people who threw me away without a second thought." Her mouth opened and closed, but she had nothing to say. I shook my head. "Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna figure this out without me, just like you always wanted. And I'm gonna walk away, just like you told me to." I turned on my heel, making my way back to my friend's car. Behind me, my dad shouted, "Don't you dare walk away from us." I glanced over my shoulder. "You already did it first." Then I got in the car and drove away, leaving them to deal with the mess they had created. As I drove, my hands clenched around the steering wheel. I should have felt triumphant. I should have felt like I finally got the last laugh. But instead, I felt hollow, not because I regretted my decision. No, they had it coming. But because after everything, even after they begged for my help, I knew they still didn't see me as family. They just saw me as a solution, a wallet, a safety net. And now, that net was gone. That night, I sat in my apartment, scrolling through my phone while enjoying a greasy burger from my favorite takeout place. It was peaceful, quiet, the kind of night I hadn't experienced in years under that roof. I half considered turning my phone on silent, but I couldn't resist checking my notifications. Surprise, surprise. My family hadn't given up. My mom had sent 3 messages in a row. We can work something out. Please, let's talk. Your brother is still in jail. We're struggling to get the money together. Please, I know we were harsh before, but we're family. I nearly choked on my soda. Now we're family. Now they cared. That was rich. I was debating whether to respond when another text popped up, this time from my dad. Look, we can repay you. You just need to trust us. That one actually made me laugh out loud. Trust them. The same people who had spent years treating me like an unwanted guest in my own home? The same ones who told me to leave without a second thought? Yeah, right. Just as I was about to put my phone down, another message arrived from my brother. Come on, man. You're really gonna let me rot in here? Oh, this was too good. After everything he put me through, all the times he pushed me around, mocked me, called me useless, and now he wanted my help? I decided to have a little fun. You told me no one wanted me around. I'm just respecting your wishes, I replied, adding a smiley face. Delivered. Read. No response. I smiled to myself, stretched my arms behind my head, and took another bite of my burger. Life was good. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of messages. Groggily rubbing my eyes, I unlocked my phone and scrolled through them. Apparently, things were getting rough for the family back home. We had to sell the TV and Dad's golf clubs. Your mother is furious with me. Hope you're happy. Please, we don't know what to do anymore. And then, the best one yet, I swear to God when I get out, you better pray I don't find you. Now that was hilarious. The same guy who needed my help was threatening me. I decided to respond. That's some strong language for someone who needs my help. Try again. An entire hour passed before my mom finally swallowed her pride and sent another message. Please, we're really struggling. I let her sit in that desperation for a few minutes before replying. Tell you what, I'll bail him out. On one condition. She didn't hesitate. Anything. I smirked. I want a public apology. In the family group chat. A long one. I want you all to admit every horrible thing you've said to me. And I want you to thank me for helping. I knew that would crush my dad's pride. But if they wanted my help so badly, they'd have to grovel for it. Sure enough, it took them a while, but eventually, a new message popped up in the family group chat. We need to talk about how we've treated you. We've made mistakes, and we realize now how much we've hurt you. We deeply regret our words and actions. You are an important part of our family, and we are grateful for your generosity in helping us during this difficult time. It was stiff, forced, and completely humiliating for them. Perfect. I gave them a simple thumbs up emoji and went about my day. Did I actually bail my brother out? Haha, absolutely not. But at least I finally got the apology I had always deserved. The following week, I received a call from my brother. Man, I can't believe you did this to me, he growled through the phone, frustration thick in his voice. I thought you were better than this. I couldn't help but laugh. It wasn't filled with malice, but rather the kind of laugh you get when the universe hands you exactly what you deserve. Better than what? I asked, my tone light, almost playful. I'm just giving you what you wanted. You told me I wasn't wanted, remember? So now you get to stay exactly where you belong. I could hear him slamming something against the jail bars in the background. You can't do this. You're really just leaving me here. I let the silence stretch out before responding. You know, I thought I might bail you out. I really did. But you and the rest of the family have made it pretty clear that I don't matter. I paused, letting the words sink in. So now, I get to laugh. I get to enjoy my life, knowing that I'm out here living it on my terms while you're stuck. Enjoy your stay. He didn't say anything for a while, and I could almost picture him fuming on the other end. But I didn't care. After years of being treated like an afterthought, like some invisible shadow in the background, this was my moment. When I hung up the phone, a wave of relief washed over me. I wasn't angry anymore. In fact, I couldn't even feel the resentment I used to carry around for them. All of it had melted away. And just like that, my brother stayed in jail. They tried everything to get him out, but the charges were serious enough that it was out of their hands. They begged and pleaded, but the truth was, they needed me far more than I ever needed them. As for me, I walked away, head held high, knowing that I had finally reclaimed my power. I didn't need to lift a finger to make their lives miserable. They'd already done that for me. All I had to do was sit back, enjoy my peace, and know that they would never see me the same way again. And every time I glanced at my phone, with its constant reminders of how desperate they were, I smiled. Because in the end, it wasn't just about the money. It was about the sweet, satisfying taste of revenge. For the first time in a long time, I was finally living for myself. Honestly, this story is incredibly satisfying. The protagonist, after being treated so poorly by his family, flips the script in a brilliant way by refusing to help his brother when he needs it the most. It's like the perfect form of revenge. He doesn't even have to do anything drastic. He simply lets them face the consequences of their actions. What do you think? Was it the right call, or did he go too far? Would you have helped, or is this payback well-deserved? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.